All right, I'll now turn it over to Ms. Jewett to lead us through the progress report on the strategic plan.
Okay, so I'm just going to introduce it. We have a number of special guests here tonight who we hear from instead of me for a change, which is always nice. So I do want to thank all of you for coming out. Those of you who are here just to support the folks who will be presenting, but most of you in here played some role in either the creation or, in fact, everyone here, because I think just about everyone here is a parent or a community member or a student or a staff member. So you've all played a part in the actualization of our strategic plan. October of 2015 was when we developed our 3 overarching strategic plan goals, having to do with health and wellness, overall wellness, social emotional wellness rather, of our students and our staff, our post-secondary learning and planning, as well as innovative, interdisciplinary, and creative learning. And so we are nearing the end of our first year of our action plans, of carrying out our action plans that were developed toward the realization of these goals. And so we have a number of special guests here tonight to speak about that. And this is actually, you can think of this as part 1 of a 2-part presentation on all of the work that has been done by the students and the staff toward the actualization of the strategic plan. We had about 5 committees that came out of the strategic plan action plans. We had our wellness committee, which also calls themselves Strategic Edge, Healthy Edge, that you will hear about a little bit later. Our post-secondary planning committee, our diversity committee, our alternative scheduling committee, and our senior experience committee. So I am just going to recognize each of those co-chairs, and if you can just stand up as I say your name. Ms. Kumpf and Ms. Tobin. Ms. Raimondo, who was unable to be here, she actually just returned from a maternity leave. Mrs. Angela Astro, Mr. Dr. D. Giovanna and Mr. McConnell, Ms. Madigan and Mr. Searfoss, and Mr. Kruger and Mr. DeLesio. So they worked coordinating their committees, which had participants. They included parents, students, staff members that worked. They're going to share their work this evening. And then on June 6th, there are a couple of other of our performance indicators that were part of our strategic plan goals that didn't fit under the committees, but that actually our entire staff worked on throughout the year related to interdisciplinary learning. And then one of our performance indicators that the board will actually be tackling at its board retreat in June. So I am going to call Mr. Alexis up just to say a few words as well, and then we'll turn it over to the presenters.
Thank you, Liz. Before we begin with the strategic plan progress, we begin where we regularly begin, with the vision. And you've heard about this for quite some time now, probably into the 4th year, almost 5th year of hearing about the vision for the high school and where we are moving in terms of not only an instructional program, but the plan for learning and growing for the entire community. And what was interesting when I heard Natalie mention that Bill Partica, the CEO of Gerber, came on April 25th, and he identified the qualities and characteristics and what they look for to hire people in 2017. It was perfectly aligned with what we're trying to accomplish. And when you look at different K-12 districts, when you look at other high schools, when you look at colleges and universities, they all talk about the same skills and understandings. So we are committed, and we have sustained this effort to develop critical and creative thinkers who communicate and collaborate effectively. At the heart of this is a culture of inquiry, where we provide students with experiences where they can work together to solve problems and come up with creative ideas to do that. But we also lay the foundation for social emotional learning. And we believe very seriously in this culture of acceptance that we have at the high school, and we continue to work hard at that. But we're also interested in helping students develop an understanding of multiple perspectives. We're interested in modeling empathy for our students, and our faculty as a whole is doing a great job with that. We're interested in helping students become more self-aware. And laying that foundation not only provides a healthy balance to their educational experience, it gives them opportunities to learn from their aesthetic and athletic experiences in the co-curricular and athletics program. It helps them not only learn to be resilient, to move past obstacles, and to collaborate in doing that, but their academic achievement rises when they have that foundation in place. And so the last part of our vision deals with the reflective process. And if we are going to continue to learn and to grow, to embrace differences, and to prepare for this increasingly complex world that we live in, we need to understand our experiences and where we are coming from and how that is going to inform our future path. So this is a report on our progress, but really it's part of this reflective exercise that we engage in on a regular basis. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mrs. Tobin and Mrs. Kumpf to come forward and talk about the Health and Wellness Initiative.
And just a note to the board, so you know how we organized the presentation. The strategic plan has 3 overarching goals, and then each of the goals has corresponding performance indicators. So each of the co-chairs are going to speak to the work that their committee did towards the corresponding performance indicators. So just so you have this as your reference, but it is all on the slides as well. If you guys can just introduce the next space after you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. How do we make this go? Okay. Hi, I'm Julie Kumpf, and as you heard, Patricia Tobin and I have co-chaired the Wellness Committee as part of the first goal of the strategic plan. Our goal throughout this has been to create and expand services and programs that will contribute to the wellness of our school community. It's a big topic, it's an exciting topic, and so we're here to tell you what we've been doing kind of this year. As we started out, we wanted to take a comprehensive look at things to kind of guide our planning. So we took a look at what we already do at Watch on Hills for wellness and social emotional development for our community here, because there are a lot of things we already do, so we didn't want to ignore that, and we wanted to build on that. We also did research, and we looked to see what other schools were doing, what research was showing. There's a lot of schools doing things about wellness these days, so it was exciting to see what's out there and what we might want to look into. And then finally, we wanted to look at all that and then see what we could do here to improve and create and expand programs. So that was our perspective. As you can see from the performance indicators there, our goals have kind of been, with the wellness situation, is number one, to stress the importance of wellness, to educate ourselves, our community, students, parents, faculty, about the importance of wellness and why we're even focusing on it as it is. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that people know that we have a focus on this and we think it's important. Secondly, we wanted to make sure that wellness information, the programs, the activities, anything that we can learn about wellness, that people had the opportunity to find out about it. Not just one assembly a year or one article a year, but we wanted to make sure that we presented wellness information to be available through all kinds of realms: technology, curriculum, presentations, a wellness day. We thought a variety of things would be a good idea to help people get a taste of wellness and learn a little bit more about it. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that people were aware of what we were doing. We could do all this, but if we weren't aware if people were not aware that this was sort of geared towards their wellness, they might miss it. So we wanted to make sure that people are aware. We're going to show you some of the stuff we've been doing this year, and we have already started to reach out to faculty, to some community groups, to the PTO, with some of the things we're doing, and it's been exciting. There's some interest and enthusiasm out there. Some of the kids have already reflected on some of the things they've heard their teachers say, their parents say about wellness, so it's exciting, and it looks like we're starting to get the word out there a little bit.
Okay, so our progress so far. We took all the information and we broke it up into many subgroups, and we have many people involved in this. Several students, teachers, parents. We have a suggestion box, not only for the students, which is right there in the corner, where students can anonymously put in their suggestions. When we put this out to the kids through GLC and ASC, we really emphasize the healthy edge. This is not a complaint box. This is, hey, can we do something positive? For example, a student put in there, can we look into cleaning products that are a little bit healthier, that are more organic? That, I thought, was a very healthy suggestion that a kid made. We also have one of these boxes in a faculty room for faculty to add suggestions. And a teacher made suggestion about looking into the timing of testing. It just brought to light what was on a teacher's mind. So we empty those and we share them with administration. Our lunch lounge is also, I think where you do your executive session, in here. There's the big sign that you see probably when you went in there. It's been very popular. Kids can just come by, come in, come out, have conversations. Different topics are discussed in there, and different programming will be going on in the future. Right now, we're in the gathering information of what we can actually do in 40 minutes. And say, hey, we're going to start a reading circle. We're going to have this kind of conversation or this speaker. And it's during lunch, so kids have the freedom to stop by whenever they're interested in something. We have a Healthy Wedge website that you can find on our website under the WHRHS tab if you go down. You can find our website, and we've had parents, teachers, students send us articles, information that has to do with wellness. And this is a great spot on our own website to put together all of this information to share it with everyone. Our school events, this goes back more to what Julie was saying about we already do so much here, and we don't want to forget what we already had in place. On any given day, you can see bake sales for charitable events, kids that are working towards funding for a variety of things. We have social things like Skylar, the hypnotist. So we already have social components that are going on in school. We just wanted to formally recognize what we were doing. So we have a committee that just looks at school events that deal with wellness. Our outreach to faculty has happened in department meetings, at faculty meetings, discussions at PTO meetings, and Julie has reached out to the Municipal Alliance, so they're very aware and connected with us about future wellness programs. Our homework-free zone, we've had twice this year, as you can imagine. The kids love it, not only the kids, many parents have reported back to us. They like this homework-free zone. It's given them time to connect with their family during a break from school. And the stress is relieved from not having to worry about homework over these breaks that we've had. So it is something that I believe we're looking to move forward in next year to continue to do. Our next step, that's going to happen 2 days from now, a day in the life of a Watch on Hill student. We're excited about this. We've decided as administrators and a few teachers to say, let's be the first ones to get into a classroom with a 9th grader, a 10th grader, a senior, a student with AP classes, CP classes, A classes, special education classes, VOTEC students. We have a sampling of all of those kids, and all of the administrators and a few teachers are going to follow the schedule of a student this Thursday. These students know it's happening, so we're not just stalking them through their day. They know that they've been asked to participate in this, and on Friday, we're going to get together to debrief, to find out what we saw, have the opportunity to have a discussion with the student about what the rest of their day was like. When did you have time to do the homework that was assigned? Does your day usually flow like this? Is this how your class is? So we can really have a perspective through their eyes. We're going to continue this next year, and there are many teachers already excited in this. We're going to extend this next year and opening it up to teachers, so we'll have more teachers follow around a student for a day. Our Classroom Curriculum Wellness Day is going to take place in November. That is where we're going to take an academic stance related to, if you're in a history class, we're going to have a lesson that's a history lesson, but also has a wellness component to it. And we're going to work on that in our department meetings in the fall. We have a school-wide wellness day that will happen at the end of next year because it takes so much planning. So much really needs to go into this, so we really do need a lot of planning, and that's going to take place at the end of next year. And we have the faculty, we're polling now to see what they would like. It's wellness for our students, but it's also wellness for our staff. So we're looking into things that we can possibly bring on-site that teachers can do after school, they can do during their lunch period. Stop by, we've had vision clinics here before. We're looking into more things that the faculty actually wants, so we'll have a survey going out to them. So much going on in Wellness Committee. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so I'd like, if any board members have any questions between each presentation, I think it'll give you the opportunity to not have to remember what you wanted to ask or going through, so. Do we have any questions from board members? No? I have one. Are the administrators doing the whole day?
We're doing the whole day. We are meeting at 7:20, so we are prepared to go into 7:30 into class, and when that bell rings at 2:15.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead. Yes,
so
sir.
how do you guys, have you done it?
Thursday.
And how did it feel?
No, we're doing it this Thursday. We're doing it this Thursday.
Yes, we are all doing this Thursday. We'll let you know.
I would like to.
Too exhausting.
Are you
I have a feeling we're going to be beat by the end of the day. It's going to be
yeah.
exhausting.
Luckily, we don't have to go home and actually do the homework.
You should.
The next group is the Diversity Committee, Dr. DiGiovanna and Terry McConnell.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we were tasked with the idea of bringing to fruition this item about creating a diversity committee and looking into issues regarding acceptance, respect, and support throughout the school. So I think, do we have the performance indicator? Yeah. And so we decided the first thing we need to do is form the committee, and we're very fortunate to have had a lot of response from the faculty. We have about, I think we have half the English department on our committee, actually, so it's like a department meeting for them whenever we meet. Also, a few other faculty members. We've had input from 3 different parents and about 5 or 6 different students. And I also would like to thank particularly the Diversity Club, led by Jamie Lott-Jones, and also my club, the GSA, for their input into the work we've done so far. So what we've really done is, at first when we met, we had a lot of great ideas about stuff that we thought would be great, and then we realized we needed some more information and how we're going to roll those out in a way that really would be most effective. So we focused very quickly on trying to get a survey completed of the students of the school, and basically to see how they perceive Watchung Hills as a diverse place, and to what extent do they consider it diverse in a whole range of indicators, to what extent do they experience either positive or negative aspects of acceptance and respect from fellow students, from faculty and staff, and then what other things are on their mind. So that took us a long time to kind of narrow down, and we've actually continued to narrow it down, and I'm happy to report it's actually gone out. So starting tomorrow, the students will answer the survey in their social studies and English classes. So social studies are doing 9th and 10th graders, English is doing juniors and seniors. And, you know, we can't force the students to answer the survey, but hopefully they'll realize that to promote change here, we need to get the correct information and fill that out. Once we have that data from the survey, and we're going to be able to break it down, we've asked questions, we've asked students to self-identify issues of race, religion, grade, and ethnicity. Then we can look more carefully about where the areas are that we might need to do some work or further education or professional development in. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to with the survey. Okay. So now that that's out, we can talk about some of the other things which Terry's going to talk about.
Yeah, one of the other things, again, we don't have a transgender policy, so what we've done is we are going to now focus on that. A couple of teachers have already looked at, some schools do have a transgender policy, so they've started to look at that, and then we're going to put that all together and obviously at some point share with you our suggestions for a transgender policy. We also met with the Diversity Club, and they're going to give us a little little background, and we'll present to the student at some point a little history of our mascot and the Lenape Indian, and share with them their findings. Also, with the Diversity Day, again, as we said to the staff too, we understand that you know, this is a 5-year plan, so we don't want next year, we're going to have this day, this day, this day. When I was at North Plainfield 25 years ago, we had a Diversity Day. And as Pat said about the Wellness Day, it takes a lot of planning. So our hope is to get a great deal of information from our survey that the students are taking, and then from there, work that out so that next year we can do the planning stages for 2019, where we would have our Diversity Day. So we're excited about that. Again, we're hoping, I really think most students will take the survey and will be honest with us, and therefore we can gather a great deal of information of how the students feel. I mean, we all have beliefs or perceptions, or we think they feel this way or that way, but again, we think it's great that they're going to be honest with us and give us a great understanding, and then take it from there. And for the record, Sean's done most of the work.
You didn't have to say that, Tony.
Any questions? The one question I have would be, will at least a summary of the survey findings be able to be presented to the members of the board?
Absolutely. I think our plan is, once we get the data in, to sit down with the committee, kind of see what's speaking to us, prepare some kind of summary and present it to the board, and also share it probably with the school in general.
Great, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, John?
Yeah, you briefly touched on the mascot, and so you briefly touched on the mascot?
Yes.
So I was just wondering, is there a plan with that, or?
Well, the Diversity Club has been looking into it and getting the history of the background, okay? So again, we wanted them to share that with the student body at some point in time, okay? Because again, we've had it for 60 years, and I'm not sure most even have any background or anything. So they've done a nice job in trying to get the history and to share it with everyone.
Okay.
Okay?
And I would suggest for that presentation that you call on Mr. Hunsinger, since he is very well schooled in the history of the mascot, and Lenny, right?
Yep.
So,
Lenape.
I'm aware of that also.
just in case you weren't. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You can introduce who's next.
I think it might, you know what, I should look at it.
Yes, it's you.
That's not working now that I have to
Just got back. If you,
Got it. It is me.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
So you do have in front of you the goals that we set forth, and please forgive my voice, I'm hoping I make it through this whole thing. This is really just allergies going better than it was last week. I'm not going to read over, only because you do have the goals in front of you, so I'd rather go into the next part on how we are, what progress we've made on these strategic plan goals. So I'm not going to read it again, save my voice for one thing, and give you the information that I have. So our task was to look into post-secondary planning for our students. How do we present to colleges? How do we present to businesses? What do we need to do? What research? How should we get this information? And I have to say that this started even maybe 2 years ago, so it's just coincidental kind of that it was one of the strategic plans. But every month I meet with the directors of guidance, which is actually called the DOGS, for Somerset and Hunterdon County. And it's a great session. I really think it's become a therapy session, because who wants to listen to a director of guidance complain about all the things we have to do? So about 2 years ago, in just general conversations, coming up was grading. And but we have a 5.3 total GPA that students possibly, but can't really, because we offer too many things, as our highest GPA. Some of the schools are at 6.3. Some use 5.0. So it was really, really different and very interesting. So for the past 2 years, we've been discussing in the directors of guidance meetings, DOGS meetings,
what's going on. It's not a competitive bunch, we are all on the same page, we're all trying to figure out how to help our students in the next stages. And it's been brought up with our own guidance department. So really, this post-secondary information, as I say, started 2 years ago. In October 2015, we all met for strategic planning. And by chance, I saw on all the papers written around the room, if you were part of that, questions about, oh, wow, we're really inflated, 5.3, what are we doing, what's happening to our students, how can we fix this? So formally, in October of 2015, guidance, I brought this back to guidance, and we started our conversations back then. So it's been an ongoing conversation. It's still an ongoing conversation in the directors of, with the directors of guidance, but information was needed on what are colleges looking for and how we're going to get this information. So through these discussions, the county directors decided to put together a survey of colleges. The survey, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually, has a lot of questions. And some of the questions you'll say, that's really not something that doesn't deal with us, and it's because another director asked to put that into the survey. But as the directors were working on this in September of this year, and putting it together and getting permissions and what we should do, the task for our guidance counselors was, we've all already started at that point meeting with guidance, admission reps for colleges. So we have over 100 reps that come. And we did put together a very informal survey covering some of the topics that I knew would be part of this questionnaire sent out to colleges. Weighted GPA, what do you look at? Weighted GPA, non-weighted GPA, honors courses, AP. So a lot of information. The counselors were tasked with meeting with the reps before the reps met with the students, and we filled out our own questionnaire. It became more formalized as the directors put it together. So we actually have two surveys that we've kind of put together in our minds as one. The survey that the directors put out, we put out in December. The survey at that time was sent to 400 colleges. We had 176 that responded to the survey, and the counselors have 100 plus sheets with information, almost the same information as the survey that I'm going to go into in a little bit. But that's how we developed the survey. It really took a lot of time, and I know it sounds easy to put a survey together and get the right questions, but it really was a lot of discussion with these directors, getting everybody on the same page, involving two counties. We had Morris a little bit with us, but we just couldn't get everybody together. We were trying to do as many counties as we could. But the results are very interesting, and I'm going to get to that as we go through what else we did this year besides the survey. I just want to keep you on the edge of your seat. Other information that we worked on this year with is post-secondary and transitioning ninth graders into the school was we initiated new workshops. So this October, transitioning is very hard for ninth graders. You've all been there at one time. Our students have been there too. We tried during the PSAT testing time where the 10th and 11th graders were tested. The seniors came in late. All the ninth graders met individually as small groups with their counselors and laptops. We use Naviance as one of the biggest tools, which is interactive. Parents can use it, students can use it, the counselors use it all the time, and decided this is the day, freshmen, you're going to learn how to use Naviance. So the counselors with the students with laptops started the initial steps in students getting on Naviance, showing them what Naviance is. That was new for us. It was hard. We did have a couple crashings, but for the most part, the kids were able to log in, get the gist of it, and it started that ball rolling. We also changed our freshman night around. In the past, we just had parents come in November, and really I was doing a lot of what was done in the 8th grade, but now parents were more familiar with the terminology. This is a GPA, this is a transcript, and now they could associate. So instead, the freshman night in November was students and parents came in, and they met directly with their counselors instead of putting everybody together. So they had, again, another type of person to contact, the mentor. And we're planning to run more workshops.
Another big change, which affected a lot of us, is we rotate our health programs. So I think seniors go first, whatever, it's seniors, juniors, whatever. This year, we switched the rotation. We put the ninth graders first, which we haven't done in health. So they immediately came into school, they immediately went to the health class instead of PE, which they usually had done in June, so they were a little more mature. And we were inundated with freshmen identifying themselves as everything possible that I think the health teachers had taught to them. Drugs, I was this, I think cutting, I'm this. I think we were all amazed. And Mr. Bertelli's, the health teachers, and the student assistance counselors, and the counselors really tried to handle this, which we weren't expecting. We talked about mentoring, and I think the students immediately found a mentor because they were categorizing themselves into everything. So, I mean, we smile about it, but it was what's going on in the health rooms. But it was a maturity thing. The students who really got that information the end of their freshman year. So this year, after we put all our heads together, we met with the health teachers, the student assistance counselors, Mr. Ritelli, Mrs. Phelan, and myself. We're going to keep that health the same rotation this year. We really talked about this transitioning and when freshmen should get this information, but we're going to tweak the program a bit more. So it is a good idea. I like that instead of now junior year, when we're dealing with all these issues, why didn't we tell them freshman year? We have them freshman year, so it's another transition for them. Scheduling, we have really tweaked scheduling so much. It's just as a lengthy process, and we've tried to individualize it as much as we can with prepping students for post-secondary education. We start scheduling actually in November, so November of the preceding year. In January, the teachers will make those recommendations. That has all preliminary recommendations. That all stays the same. In March, what we started this year was we do have a waiving process. It used to be almost like a free-for-all where students just wanted to go into, I know the teacher recommended me for this level, but I want to go in this level. There was no thought, no conversation. It really wasn't as good an educational process as we would like. So this year, what we started, which worked very well, was an initial waiver period, I guess you would call it, where students were able to waive into elective classes. In other words, an AP Chem is an elective class. So where students would normally have just said, I'm taking that as an elective without thought, without conversation, we put a little bit of personalizing it on the table for them. It really is the same waiver process for core classes. They still, it opened up communication with the entire staff, really. There were at least 5 people they had to talk with. It started with the counselor who talked to them, then they came to me, and I talked with them. The third was going to the teacher who talked to them. If it was an AP class, they also had to go to the AP teacher, so the AP teacher could say, well, how many APs are you taking? Here's the curriculum, here's the summer work. Back to the supervisor, and then back to me. So it really went full circle on communication, and I know that cut down the amount of waivers for our students and making good judgment calls on, okay, I'm taking 5 AP classes, or I'm taking a lot of honors, or I'm in CPs, I want to take A. So that was a really good step for us. The second part of that was the waivers for the levels, which, again, going through the same process involving the whole staff. The staff was great. They really wrote down. They didn't just write down, I don't need this student, the student doesn't do the homework, or very quick. They wrote something for the parents to read. So that also helped us in tweaking in class selection. We just started this week the development of an alumni email base. So for those of you who don't know what I'm saying or haven't had seniors, we send out what we call senior destruction letters, and I'm obligated to send through mail a letter to parents and students that we have your Cume folder, and it's very adorable. It's got your kindergarten pictures in it, and it's got samples of first grade work and second grade work, and we need you to pick that up, or we're going to destroy it, because we only have to keep, it used to be in perpetuity, now it's 100 years, your record of attendance, your transcript, and your health records. So if you would like your kindergarten pictures back, we happily will give them to you because we just cannot store paper folders that are about this thick from kindergarten, including those cute little pictures of your kindergarten picture, first grade picture. It's very cute. So along with those letters, we also added a section on, we're developing an alumni database. Please provide us with a different email than your Watch on Hills email, and we, because that ends when you graduate and would be useless. We do, there are some students who chose not to give us that as we're getting the sheets back, and then there are some. So that's new for us, and I know we'll be using that, but I'm glad we're doing that, because then we have some contacts later on if we do want to send all these surveys out. And I know I'm going online. Freshman programs, we've tweaked that, as I said, the October and the November. We plan to do more with that. Let me go to the next one. Okay. Trends from the survey. Did I miss one? Let me go back.
Nope, this is it. So now we're going back to the survey to talk about what you found.
Okay, so the trends from the survey, what did this show? Again, lots of conversations with the college reps.
I'll make sure I send.
We have our information from the colleges. What did it end up showing? We asked the majority of colleges, do you recalculate GPA? That was an important question because most of the directors of guidance and our school also received a letter. What really kicked our department off was we received a letter, a student of ours was rejected out of college, and I'm not going to say what college or the name. He wrote a very nice letter to the admissions rep and said, I wasn't accepted, I was put on the wait list. How come? And the admissions rep, who we know because we've really gotten on nice first name basis with some of the college reps, wrote back and said, because when we recalculated your GPA, your school showed you a 4.3, and we recalculated to a 3.8, and it just did not make the cut. In writing, documented. So brought that up in guidance and said, this is really serious now. Like, what are we doing? Are we so inflated that we're hurting our students? And that really, when I brought that up with the directors, they had also received information from other schools, the same thing, there was this recalculation. So as we talked with the college reps in the very beginning, before we sent the survey out, I think we were ready to say, I really think we're going to have to change our whole system. Panic was setting in with that. But when we got the survey back, it really was the same. Colleges looked at weighted and non-weighted. There's no evidence that I would say, oh my goodness, this is terrible. It was so close. So asking that question, there was no strong preference for weighted versus non-weighted GPA. When we asked what the most important component of was for a student's transcript in admissions, it's academic rigor. So it's not so much, all the elective things, but what academic rigor, what's the highest? That doesn't mean for a student that's in CPs, you have to take APs. But do you show that progression? You start in CPs, everybody could stay in a CP class, maybe you can get a 4.0, but did you challenge yourself? Did you move to an A level? Did you try and take an honors? So they're really looking at the academic rigor on the transcript. We also gave 1 through 6, please rate the following 1 through 6, GPAs, testing, essays, recommendations. I would love to ask you, so what do you think came the highest? But I think you would know. So as much as everybody says we look at everything, GPA was definitely the highest thing they looked at, and followed by ACT and SAT scores. Low in the list were the essays, and we did talk to reps about the essays. Essays, some of them, some schools, it is very important for the essays, but some college reps know. Mom and dad paid somebody to write the essay. Your English teacher wrote the essay. Somebody else wrote the essay. So that did not come as high as we thought. And then the level of electives. So a big question for us was, do you count electives when you recalculate? Do you count electives? Again, came pretty evenly. The levels not, in electives, it doesn't matter. They really want to see, are you a student who wants to see the world? You've tried all these electives, good for you. Are you a student who's very passionate? You followed the science, good for you. Or you follow the arts, great. Because that transcript really reflects the personality of the student, and that's what they want to see. So if they're not counting all these resumes we do, and the recommendations and the essays, that transcript needs to reflect the student. So how we can do that is through the electives, which could be science, art, or I'm trying everything, which is perfectly fine. The new trends, what's coming up in college application, Zeeming. Anybody have heard of Zeeming? I really didn't either, but it's now video resumes. Just beginning. I don't know, do have some of the counselors here, didn't we use a Zeeming? We were all kind of like shopping at the bar, or Joe, did anybody? Zeeming, but Zeeming was the new thing. And self-report applications. For those of you who don't know what self-report applications are, Rutgers was, I think, the first one we heard of a couple years ago that is a self-report application. Self-report means the student does it completely themselves. The college is going to ask, what did you get in English? I got an A. What did you get in history? Oh, A. What did you get in everything? Self-report. There's no transcript from high school. There's no recommendation. There's no essay. It's self-report. However, at the end of senior year, when we do send that final transcript, it better meet what you said. So that is, at Penn State, and I know Rutgers are doing that, there are obviously more because the response was certainly more colleges were going to a self-report application. And I think, just talking to colleges with this, and I know I'm like blabbing, November 1st is a big deadline for our schools, December 1st, and for those of you who have students or parents here, you will no doubt get an email from a college that says, we didn't receive your application, it's April 1st, it's November 1st, it's an electronic email. Even with electronic, the entire process is electronic, even with electronic process, you have to remember the amount of applications. Let's say, like Boston College will get 24,000 applications for 1,200 position. Each application, even though electronic, might be 10 pages long with the recommendations, the resume, the transcript, the profile. So they actually have to sit in the queue, and it takes days to load all these. So the quick self-report is a little easier, so I don't know if that's a factor, but that would come up too. I'm going to try and go quick. I just have trouble with this. Okay. I'm going to go to the button to the right.
To get it off the computer.
You know what, let's hit the down button. I can do this.
I think good. You got it there?
Okay. So what's the recommendation, because we'll start going through the trends. There was absolutely nothing that made us think we should be changing our grading or level structure. So the recommendation from the committee is to remain the same. And I do want to add, Lynn Raimondo is not here, but Lynn Raimondo and her committee did a survey with the staff on our leveling. Should we change our levels? A, CP, should we combine A and CP? Should we just identify English as English, just do English AP? I'm giving a for example, and the survey says no. The teachers are very happy with the way we were. Colleges are happy with the way we are presenting. So that, I'm sure Lynn will at a later time give you that information, but the recommendation from the committee right now is just, we do not need to change anything we do. I would be really hesitant to make that recommendation, and I know the committee, I have the counselors here with me, would verify that, guys? Okay, good. And is there another?
Yeah, you have
There's
one more
more.
seat to work.
There you go. There we go. Okay, for the next steps, I'm going to look on this because I only wear glasses. Okay. What we'd like to do in the next steps is even develop our transitioning program for the ninth graders more. Do we add groups at lunchtime, peer leaders, So that's one thing we're thinking of for next year, because it took a long time this year to get that information. We also would like to expand the use of Naviance. We started with the ninth graders in October, but would like to put more of that out, possibly run some parent groups. This year during our in-service, we did the college prep for staff that had students in high school, which was great and fun to do. We're going to look into doing the summer college application workshop for rising seniors. We work really closely, luckily, both of the student assistance counselors are on the wellness committee and they're also on guidance. So it's nice to have that because we talk about the stress and what's going on with students, and we'll work with them on developing programs to assist students. And this year, we do have a very good relationship with colleges. I'm not going to, I was going to, do you have time for me to read some of the comments from the colleges from that survey? Is that okay, or it's too much time? I'll do that in a sec. What we're going to do is seeing if we can...
You know what, you can summarize those and I'll share them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can share them with the
I
ladies.
do have the pages of comments the colleges made. I do have to white out their names because they did do this for us. They gave a name, but I don't want to share that. But I do have to say that back on the survey, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth, the 400 colleges we sent to included, and we got responses from schools, UPenn, Chicago, the Naval Academy, Notre Dame, so some of those high-level colleges, including county colleges. So the range of colleges included a great diversified group. So I believe in what they said. They backed it up with their statements, and what I'll do is I'll white this out and I can pass it on, because it is interesting to read, but it's pages long, and they were very honest. I think we're good.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Barone.
I just want to be clear about the goals about post-secondary learning. So it really just, it's not post-secondary, it's not broad about post-secondary.
It's planning for post-secondary learning.
So it's really about planning for college, but not like any type of other type of post-secondary learning?
Actually, no, there is,
Okay.
so this presentation focuses on the committee work. What is set to go tomorrow is I'm glad you brought this up, the strategic plan, action plans. We've also been updating all of those. We just have to update it, so it's updated in the Google Sheets, and I just have to have Chris Becker update the Google site.
Okay.
And what I will do is I'll send that link to the board because there's a lot more information in there. As you can see, we already have a lot to present, so I was trying to pick and choose what we thought was good to present tonight and on the 6th, which ties into this as well. So a lot of the information on the 6th also ties into to planning for
Okay,
post-secondary
so when
learning.
I look at the strategic plan, action plans, because that's why I have them up,
Yes.
I'm like,
And I was actually going to update them today, but I wanted to wait till tomorrow in case anything else came up tonight that I needed to add. So so that will be updated tomorrow. I'm glad you're looking at the action plans. That's good to know.
Other questions? Right, I just have a couple quick ones.
Yes.
First of all, if we could get, copies of the
The
survey that you laid out the information on, make it available to the board members so they can peruse it if they so wish. Did you find anything related to the idea of the SAT optional, ACT optional schools? That seems to be a growing trend, that list of schools that is going to the process of either not looking at them or making them optional, and how does that play into your thinking?
So that is part, when you read the comments, a lot of the schools did respond for this year, they're making it optional. I think schools are getting a feel for, okay, what is this year going to be like? It was not asked in the survey. Again, the survey was comprehensive. It was, what are the factors you use? Please rate the factors that you use. GPA came out first, SAT and ACT were just together as a second. But the colleges that did respond did put this year we're going test optional.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question that I had is, you talking about the recommendation to maintain the current grading and the level structure. There's been a lot of discussion amongst other districts, and particularly amongst very high-performing districts in the state regarding the leveling and the grading structure. Certainly the most prominent one is West Windsor-Plainsboro. Did you look into, those type of districts where they have taken significant changes related to grading and scheduling and take that into account as part of your evaluation?
We did not, on the survey, we really just aimed at the two counties and just the questions we had. I did not reach out, we did not reach out as a group to the other schools to see conversations with the schools in the other counties. You know, as I say, there are a couple schools that have a 6.3 highest GPA. You'll see a lot of what I'm saying makes more sense when you read the comments and see the survey. Some of the schools in recalculating will stop anything over 5.0, and they're going to recalculate, and you'll get that information as we see. In talking about the other high schools, there was one school in our group that did change with the results, because they all have the results in the survey to share with their districts. One school that did change their GPA to a 5.0 because of what's said. I think, you know, there's still more discussion. This was an initial survey on this, and you know, our immediate reaction was, well, should we change right away? Do we talk to the community? Do we talk to the board on is this hurting our students? From what we saw, no. But again, it's still ongoing. We'll meet with the reps again next year because we do want to get information on SAT. So how did the SAT change go? How did all this go? So we will be opening up more questions for discussion.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, I know I have to do this again. I think, Barry, I'm just sitting here. So we have Ms. Madigan and Mr. Searfoss.
Thank you.
I think Barry, are you in the way? Is that
There we go.
Our alternative scheduling committee looked at performance indicator B, which specifically focused on taking a look at our current schedule to see how we could potentially reallocate the time and resources that we already have here at our physical plant for cross-curricular learning and collaboration between our students.
Very nice.
So through the earlier stages of the strategic planning process and the development of this goal, it was very evident that there was a need for students to have what we call flex time. This would be an opportunity for students to choose how they use their time during the school day. And this came about because students were expressing an interest in having time to collaborate, working on group projects or group activities. And they mentioned that one of the struggles with working or living in such a big school district is it was often really hard for them to get together outside of school to collaborate. Obviously, through technology, we have those tools, but in terms of meeting as an actual group, it sometimes was a struggle with their schedules. And they also expressed an interest in getting to know their teachers better and make personal connections. So having the opportunity to continue a conversation that they had been having in class that maybe excited them or interests them, and having an opportunity to talk about baseball or some of their interests and making those personal connections. And one of the things that I think students and teachers have probably all noticed is that a lot of times at the end of the year, we say goodbye to our students, and our students say goodbye to us. And in such a big district, there are times where we will never see that student again, or maybe we'll see them for such a short amount of time that we don't have an opportunity to interact as much as we would like to. So part of the flex time, one of the goals could be for students to have a chance to speak to their teachers about their future goals, kind of forming this mentorship relationship where they could talk about their goals for college, or maybe go see a teacher in an area that they're interested, to seek advice for what they should major in college, what types of schools they should be applying to. And as you heard through the different committees this evening, this time would also be an opportunity for stress relief or wellness initiatives. Students could also seek extra help from their teachers or spend time practicing with their peers, with a teacher there to guide them. They could schedule makeup work during this time, because often it's hard with their extracurricular activities to find time to get in to see their teachers. And finally, students also expressed interest in working on independent research projects, and that they didn't have a lot of time during the school day to pursue their own personal academic interests. So this would be an opportunity for them to reach out to their teachers about their own personal interests. So from really getting a good understanding of the need for this flex time, we embarked on some research. We, as a committee of parents, students, teachers, and administrators, we surveyed other school districts to find out what their schedules were like, if any of them had flex time built into their schedule. If they did, how often they were doing it, how long it was, what the students were using that time for, and then some of the benefits or drawbacks that they saw to having this as part of their schedule. And we tried to get a very wide variety of schools in our survey that had similar demographics, large schools, small schools, but we did try and focus mainly in New Jersey, because our thought was, well, if it's working at these other public high schools in New Jersey, it could probably work here at Watchung Hills. We listed some of the examples of schools that we researched that had some interesting schedules: North Hunterdon, Princeton, Holmdel, St. Peter's Prep, Jersey City, and McNair Academic High School. From there, we sort of gathered all our research, took components of each of the schedules that we liked, and formed one that we think will work well here at Watchung Hills.
Very nice, Michelle, thank you. Okay, it's not me. There it is. And as Terry said before, Michelle did most of the work. Although, if you take a look at the schedule up on the board, basically what we did is we cut out 5 minutes from each period. The first time slot, we actually cut out 7 minutes, just to give us some additional time for announcements in the morning and things like that. But you can see that the flex period is not in conjunction with lunch. The morning flex time is right after time slot 2, before time slot 3, and it's a flat 30-minute time period. And then the afternoon flex time is after time slot 4 and time slot, in between time slot 4 and time slot 5. And there was a method to our madness with this. We were a little bit concerned to bump it up next to a lunch, that the kids would not take advantage of it the way that we were kind of hoping that they would just extend their lunch and just, continue along that realm. And basically what we're trying to do is encourage them to use the time for some of the reasons that Michelle mentioned, for working with teachers, doing some collaborative things with their classmates. So we were very, very intentional in keeping these flex periods away from the lunch time slot. Basically, we started out with just the morning, and then we got some really good feedback from teachers and some supervisors that it might be nice to also rotate and have it in the afternoon as well. So that's why we have, tried the 2 different schedules. The next steps, that's kind of where the vice principals come in. And, not to be pessimistic, but, like Tim Stiles, who gets concerned about...
Like Tim
Not to mention anyone by name, but...
I compare the VP to the CPA only because Tim's bottom line is, okay, everything sounds great, but can we afford it? Which, that's Tim's role. Terry McConnell, Pat Tobin, and myself, as the vice principals, everything sounds great, but can we supervise it? So our role in the summer now is going to be to take a look at all of this and deal with the logistics. What areas of the building are we closing off? Are the cafeterias going to remain open? Do we close the library up? Suppose we get 800 kids that all want to go to the library. Suppose we get 200 kids that all want to go to the same teacher. So we really have to kind of create some ground rules and determine what types of things that we need to put in place so that we don't get a situation where there's chaos in the building. Obviously, 99% of our kids are, going to use it
properly, but, you know, we do have to plan ahead for those kids that might try to escape or do some things that they shouldn't be doing. So, that's part of the bottom line, as Tim would put it. We're going to meet over the summer, the VPs, we're going to look at all the negatives and try to close those loopholes so that we don't have any issues. And then we're going to meet with the committee again in September and kind of finalize everything that concerned us as VPs. And then our goal is to have a pilot trial run sometime in December. And to me, that's going to be the biggest part, because after that trial run, then the feedback that we receive from not only the teachers, but from the kids, I think that's going to provide us with, you know, basically areas for improvement and things that we need to be more concerned about. And then from there, we'll meet again and decide, you know, is this something that we're going to do once a month? Is this something that we're going to do once a marking period? Is this something that we'll never do again, ever? You know, these are the things that we'll take a look at. But, you know, on the surface, it's very promising. I think the teachers are excited, the kids are excited, and it is something that we want to really give our best effort to try to make work. But, you know, that trial run's going to be very interesting, and then we can, you know, go from there to see what types of things we need to do for improvement. So, Michelle, thank you so much. Any questions?
Any questions from members of the board?
Just to add on to what Mr. Steerfoss and Ms. Madigan had said, you know, we have obviously before school and after school, and I think all of you, everyone who's here is involved in something right after school, so it's generally that's not time that you can see your teachers, because whether you're going to an activity or sport, and during lunch, between labs and all the other things that lunch has gotten used for, that doesn't leave a lot of time. So the students are so scheduled that we're trying to, you know, if we want to encourage more of what we put up there in terms of independent research and really, you know, utilizing your teachers as resources outside of class, you know, just like we've done with the teachers, if we want them to collaborate and plan together, we've structured time in for it to happen. We can't just say we want it to happen and hope it happens. So the same thing with the students is, you know, if we really want to foster this happening, we felt we needed to look at our structure of our time allotment and see if we could build time in for it to happen. So I think it's a nice thing to try.
Just a quick one, so clearly we all know if it doesn't work, what will happen, but if it does work, what would be sort of the end goal of day one week, it would follow the schedule, and day two, the next week, it would follow the afternoon schedule? What would be the hope if it does work?
That's probably what's going to happen. We would like to alternate the morning and the afternoon, and then we would collectively decide, is this something that we want to start maybe once a month to begin, see how it goes from there. If we really like it, we might do it every other week. It really depends on how we feel the students are utilizing it, and is it something that, you know, we feel would be beneficial and that they feel was beneficial. I mean, the survey, as I said, not only going to be from the teachers, but from the students themselves. So,
I think if it does what you hope it does, it's a fantastic concept. I think kids are really going to use it well.
Hope so.
no, we hope so. I mean, you know, it does have, you know, so many great advantages. So we're, you know, if the students take advantage of it, I think it's, you know, it's going to be something that other schools are going to look at, coming here to visit and say, wow, that's, you know, we're going to have, you know, schools that are going to be looking to emulate what we do.
And I was on the committee of the development of this particular goal, and this was certainly one of the more intriguing and more discussed items, so it was great to see it come out in this particular way. But I am curious about the issue around bumping it up against lunch. Did you look at other schools where they actually did that, and were there problems that they have? Were there, you know, pluses or minuses in schools that actually did it that way?
We didn't particularly see schools who had done it that way, but as a science teacher myself, coordinating lab time would be very difficult because we have labs that go into lunch and then we have labs that come out of lunch. So we couldn't really figure out how at Watchung Hills with our current schedule we could coordinate flex time that came up against lunch. One of the schools that was most closely related to The schedule that we chose was Princeton High School. They actually did theirs after the second time slot. And in speaking to the students, they felt that first thing in the morning, for instance, wouldn't be the best time because they've done all their homework. They haven't had their classes, so maybe they wouldn't have as much use for that time at that point. But they felt in the afternoon or later in the morning, it would be a better use of their time.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Nothing?
Thank you.
We still have
You can call up your next presenters or escapees, however you want to refer to them at this point.
Okay, the senior experience, Mr. Greg Kruger and Mr. Michael Alessio.
Great, thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
It's always hard to follow Steve at these presentations, so we'll try to.
So Greg and I were the co-chairs of the Senior Experience Committee. He's going to talk about a little bit of the purpose of the committee and our findings over the past few months. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in June for our seniors in their last days of high school.
So as a committee, we were tasked with creating a more unique experience for our 12th graders through their senior year. So as a group, we first started by researching other schools that already have such programs in place. We mostly found that senior experience typically means an internship or work program in which the seniors will conduct either for part of their senior year or all their senior year. There are a few schools within New Jersey that have done it or do such a program. So that's something that we have started to look into, maybe possibly develop over the next few years. We started looking into that by surveying our teachers to see if they would have interest in serving as mentors to our students, to complete small projects, to complete either community-based projects or school-based projects towards the end of their senior year, really to look into something to do with, have the seniors do, post-AP time, post-prom time, really keep the entire year on focus and to give the seniors, experience from September all the way through June as they graduate. So we started looking into that, and we'll continue to look into it through the 5-year strategic plan. We also discussed as like subcommittee within the committee, the idea of adding more classes to the school that could serve as an opportunity for students to receive college credit and take high school courses at the same time. Patty Grunther was looking a lot into that through some of the foreign languages. I know there are already some courses within the school that have that idea, and it's something that we could continue to look into to expand on throughout the entire school. Just try to... All right. As you see here, Mike is going to tell you a lot more about it coming up. We are currently planning a Senior Career Exploration Day, which will occur on June 13th, 2017, which will give the students an opportunity to have a lot of different careers presented to them. Mike, just come on up and talk about it.
So as Greg alluded to, we first started to look and see if we could do some type of internship program at the school, and right away we kind of found that a little daunting at first because of the size of our senior class, the size of our school, and sending out that many students and finding businesses or whatnot to have our students participate in is very difficult. So we came up with an idea of kind of reversing that thought, having people from the outside come into our school and talk with our students so that we can make connections and contacts with those students with people on the outside and build up a repertoire of businesses, community leaders and people within the state in order to start to see if we can get our seniors to look at outside careers. So they are going to college and so forth, and the next big step after college would probably be their first job. So we have planned a Senior Career Exploration Day on June 13th this year. It's Tuesday, June 13th. It's going to be in the Performing Arts Center. All our seniors will attend, and we have a keynote speaker, which I'll go into, and panelists would experience in marketing, film, making, agricultural science. Is that working? Does Steve break it or anything? So that's on June 13th. Like I said, our keynote speakers are a brother and sister graduate team, Justin and Michael Benedus, class of 2002 and 2003, Watchung Hills Regional High School. I was very fortunate to have both of them in class back in those years. I found them extraordinary kids who were very, very interested in the math and sciences. Currently, they're the owners of the Beneduce Vineyards, a winery in the Pittstown section of Hunterdon County. It's a family-operated business, and their first vineyard was planted in 2009, and they opened to the public in 2012. They've been very successful. We thought it would be a good idea to have them come back as graduates of Watchung Hills Regional High School, not too far along though, within the last 10, 15 years, and talk to our students of how they went off to college, how they used their degrees, how they used their knowledge to create their own business. Because, when you talk to our students, they all want to be their own boss. We all know that at this age. So I think that's a great thing for them to see, graduates of our high school who are owners of a company, and how they struggled and how they were successful in that. So they'll be our keynote speakers. We have several other speakers for that day, including panelists. We're going to have a panel discussion on with technology folks, and entrepreneurship, finance, filmmaking, public relations. We'll have a flyer out in the next few weeks that will have a little bio of all the folks that are going to be there. And we're hoping that our seniors ask a lot of questions, with this, and find out what it really means to be an entrepreneur and all the hard work that it does take, to establish yourself, to establish a career. Obviously as 12th graders, they see it from an outside view, and we're hoping that they can get a little bit more direct view. And I think it's very nice to see some of our graduates come back and participate in this also. We turn out a great product here, and we want to make sure that our seniors see that. And after 4 years of being here, I think that's important for them to know that they have the potential to do these kind of things. So that will be on June 13th this year. Okay.
Thank you. If you could just advance it to the last slide for me.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Seeing none? Great, thank you.
Thanks, Liz. So I mentioned earlier, these are the two remaining performance indicators that weren't addressed tonight. The first one is the expected school-wide learning results, which the board will be discussing at the retreat in June at the end of this month, which there's been work done towards this in terms of getting input from the staff that I will share with the board, and also all of the information you're getting from this presentation and the next presentation. And then performance indicator C, which is also for the third strategic plan goal, which has to do with expanding innovative opportunities for student learning within and beyond the classroom. Our next meeting we are going to have representatives, all of our supervisors will be here, as well as some teacher and student representatives to talk about all of the interdisciplinary work that they've done this year, as well as their progress towards their departmental goals that they had presented back in the fall. So that will be coming at our next meeting. Okay?
Great. I see that we have some other guests and some students that have participated in this process. If the folks that have been working on this would please stand so we can thank you appropriately. Come on, students and faculty and administrators.